Hello and welcome to the Stammerer. Now, this week I've been thinking about the lessons I've learned from having a stammer, and how it's changed me and how it's shaped me. Now, I'd be very interested in other people, to hear how it's made them, who they are, their experiences, if they've achieved everything they have achieved, if there are things that they haven't fulfilled in life, if they still have aspirations to do things, is a stammer. I know for me, speaking personally, it stopped me in my my earlier years from stopping me achieving. And is that just an excuse on my part? Are there others out there who've really achieved what they plan to achieve, and it hasn't stopped them? Because hiding away and not allowing me to have access to other people, to hear other people, I guess I needed to be inspired, and I wasn't. So it'd be really, really nice to hear, and feel free to let me know about your experiences. Okay, so how has stammering shaped me? So I think it's fair to say that it's had a negative and positive impact on me personally. And over the years, I think as you grow over your years, you mature and you advance anyway. So factoring in a stammer to that as well. So if we go back to when I was a kid, I guess I was a very shy to some degree, but very much I tried to overcompensate not being able to talk with actions. So I was quite a feisty kid, always had to have my say, and even though I couldn't necessarily say all the things that I tried to say, I got very frustrated, I guess is that's probably the key word, of the frustration of not being able to say stuff, which led me on a path of maybe using that as an excuse of not being able to do stuff. Nobody knew how I felt. I just deprived myself and taught myself of, you can't do stuff. And even from an early age, I guess I put these chains upon myself to tell myself that I couldn't do things. So the things like, I don't know, just anything to do with speaking, so I played sport. I was quite okay at sport. So I threw myself into sport to a point where when then I had to speak. So for example, if I had to go to a race meet to run, I was probably more scared of telling the people who I was rather than like the race. So I just didn't want to put myself through that. And there were, lots of school trips and tons of other things. And I just wouldn't, I'd be itching inside to go. And I would just wouldn't go. So I wonder how many of you, even if, you have, even though there's something else that stops you, for me it was because I couldn't talk. wonder what it is for you, you know. So if something stopped you, you know, for whatever reason, I'd be interested to let me know what you would have liked to have done, but something stopped you, and then as you look back now with age, you just regret it completely. So early years, frustration, complete frustration, and then you get to a point of I'd say fight, in my case anyway, where there were things I wanted to do, and when you have that everyday fight, where every day is a fight, I think you either try to rise to that fight, even though it's very, very hard to fight every single day. But you either fight and you try to win, which has its own impacts, or I think you just don't fight anymore, and you just let that thing win. So the consequence of that is I fought, and then you get fight, and then you get older. But then what then happens is everything becomes a fight. So, you know, you become, or for me, you know, everything was a fight. You know, any small thing was a fight. You know, I'd argue with anybody because I would be trying to get myself across, and be nothing worse for me than I'd be inside trying to hide a stammer, trying to get something across, not getting the right words out because I couldn't, and I couldn't get the words out to extenuate my point, and because of that, people would win, and people would maybe think, or in my mind, I would think that people would think that I was dumb, or, you know, I wasn't as good as them, but that wasn't the case. At times it'd be a case of I couldn't physically get the words out. So I'd be trying to fight a fight that wasn't there. You know, I could start an argument over anything, but it was because of me, it was because of my insecurities that I'd argue. So, you know, I was quite a feisty person, you know, quite argumentative, you know, but full of fight, you know. I'd you know, and it led me down a path of, you know, when do you stop a fight? So I think the next phase for me was, I think, when I started to be able to talk, as it was, and the fluency came. I guess the frustration then kind of left a little bit, and then as you get older and then you meet somebody, but I think particularly with me, I found this newfound fluency of being able to talk and be able to express myself, and that came alongside work and being able to achieve different things, because you get to a point where you go, right, okay, I need to achieve something now. So then when you know that you can then achieve something, you still have that fight, because you're still fighting something every single day. You still think about it every single day. And then what happens is that the battle is then kind of less of trying to fight the stammer, and then the battle is you've kind of fought it, but now that you're trying to fight for consistency, you're trying to fight for that consistent way of speaking. And then what then happened was I then became a undercover kind of, tried to hide it. So then you almost then create this persona that's not necessarily real, because you've then sort of kind of achieved something. You've achieved the ability to speak, and you're so fearful that you're going to lose that. And it's the one thing that you fought to achieve. You know, people fight to achieve loads of things in life, you know, wealth and like status and whatever else, but my goal in life was to be able to talk and communicate. And it's a very strange thing when you achieve something and then you then try to then achieve all the other stuff. You know, my biggest thing was always, once I could talk, I wouldn't necessarily care about the rest. So people who always envied people who could just talk, and you know, I don't necessarily care about what people do or where they're from or their wealth. And you know, what's always amazed me is people who can just talk. And then I could then talk to a level, you know, I'd still have weeks or days where I still hide, and then you learn these coping things, and it's really hard to get away from it. So for example, like, you know, when you can then talk and you can actually like say your name, even now, I mean, that's still, that kind of hasn't ever kind of left me. The fear, there's two fears still, which is crazy. One, saying my name, but I can do it, but you know, and the phone. I can answer a phone fine, but it's still that fear. And then you progress, and then you have kids. The biggest change, I think, for me in my life was having children, because you're not just a person, you are responsible now for somebody else. And one of the most pivotal things for me in fluency and just confidence, but not confidence in me, but the fact that you become a dad and you have to be able to show these little people the way, and you don't want them to make the same mistakes as you. And I think you learn more compassion. I think you learn to think about other people more, because then the fact that I stammer becomes a secondary point, because okay, you stammer and it's hard, and it is hard, but that takes second place, because even though you're trying to fight something, you need to be a dad and you need to put them first. So you almost have to, you're forced, or I was forced into putting it in the back of my mind. And then you become more humble. All the lessons that I learnt, you know, just to accept the way things are, you fight, you know, and then you have this person, you have to become this different person, you have to become a hybrid, you have to become a dad, and then you have to put everything that you want, everything that impacts you, almost to the side. So I had kids, and I think I've spoken about this, whereby, you know, some of the inane fears that you have when you can't talk, and then you become a dad, and the things that, you know, kind of think in your mind, and then to me anyway, I just advance. I'd be interested if anybody else who has an impediment of any kind at all, was there a moment in your life that changed you? If you're a parent or something happened, or was there a pivotal point in your life that you changed and you just thought, it just impacted you for the positive? Did it impact you for the worst? And for me, having children was a positive step. So it was easier for me to covert, to hide the stammer now even more, because I hid it anyway, but I was a dad, so I kind of put it back to the mind, and the dad came to the forefront. So, all the times that I would stammer again, I would be in a really dark place, not deal with it, but not deal with it because I was a dad. So it became a kind of a dual thing. It was, being a parent is amazing. You care for, your kids, your wife, and it's just such an amazing experience. But for me, every time I did this thing that I found so embarrassing, that I couldn't understand why I couldn't get rid of it, why I couldn't get rid of this stammer, why me? And I'd hide it, and every time I hid it, it kind of chipped and chipped and chipped away. So even though I was having this amazing time, which I still do, and I adore the kids, I adore my wife, you still have this thing. So I then learned to put the stammer behind me. But what I didn't understand, and what I didn't know, is I thought I just by hiding it and hoping that it would just leave me, because you can, I believe you can, to a degree, almost get rid of a stammer to a degree, but it's always going to come back. I think unless you're very fortunate or you've developed a way, you're always going to think about it. It's always there. So then obviously fast forward to now, and I have now accepted that I have a stammer, and I've always had it. And the acceptance piece for me is that I've always known, and I always felt embarrassed, not because I feel embarrassed about people who have a stammer. It was just about me. I've met other people who have this as well, and I just think they are amazing. It just blows my mind how people who have it worse, who have no fluency whatsoever, or who find it hard, are so brave to be able to go out into the world and just do what they do. Personally, if that was me, I don't think I would have that drive. I don't think I'd be as strong to be able to go out into the world until I would probably just cower away and hide. But I always hated myself for the fact that I couldn't get over it. I couldn't cure myself. And then having happened what kind of happened, and having to talk about it, and having to speak to people, and having to admit things, and understanding that there's a whole community out there, and understanding that there are amazing people, and people help, and people are just there. It's just an epiphany. It's just an amazing thing that you are not alone, and I feel such a wasted time in some respects. I don't regret the life that I have, because I wouldn't have the things that I have without my stammer. So in some respects, it's a love-hate thing. but the journey didn't need to be so hard. The journey could have been made easier if I had have just been given the help as a child. And it's really key and really fundamental that if you have kids, you get them helped. It's really important, because the impact, I am the impact of that. And I just implore you, just to, if you just need the help, then please, please, please just go and get the help that you need. So I'm going to sign off with I really would like to know how any impediment, as I've said, impacts you, how it's impacted you, and would really love to speak to you. Happy to speak to you on a podcast, just happy just to talk to you. Anything that you would like me to talk about, any person that you would like me to try to speak to, then I am happy to do so. So thank you as always, and I'll see you on the next one.